Hey friends, this is Lisa at Nest Interiors in Ponchatoula, Louisiana. We're a lifestyle boutique here. We specialize in home and garden accents as well as fun gifts, and we have a passion for hummingbirds. Today I'm going to talk about what we have here in the store, but I also want to use this time to give you my tips for creating a happy hummingbird habitat. Now in this video, it's going to be a longer format than some of our social media product introductions because I really wanted to create a resource for you guys not only to fully enjoy our products, but to create a fabulous experience for you and your family. Now I will reference a lot of information specific to Southeast Louisiana, but if you are in an area that attracts hummingbirds in the United States, you will find value in this video, so please continue watching. We're going to cover in this video things you can do to create a conducive habitat to attract hummingbirds. I'm going to talk about placement of hummingbird feeders. We're going to talk about maintaining and cleaning hummingbird feeders, and I'm even going to give you my recipe that I use to make my own sugar solution. We'll talk about what we have here in the store as well, and at the end of this video, I will have a special offer for you to use in store or online at shopnestinteriors.com. I should mention also that this video will have a corresponding blog post on shopnestinteriors.com, and I'm going to reference some sources. Those links will be in that blog post. It's easy enough to find. Just go to shopnestinteriors.com and look at the top. You'll find blog, or you can go to the search box on the front page of our website, type in Hummingbird. You'll find all our Hummingbird products as well as this blog post. So fairly consistently at the store, I am asked, when's the earliest I can put up a hummingbird feeder? And when we talk about spring migration, we're talking about the ruby-throated hummingbird. It is our only hummingbird in the eastern United States that will nest with us. So it's a special time, and in Southeast Louisiana, we are lucky enough to see them first and lucky enough to see them last. I've seen reports as early in New Orleans of them arriving in February 19th. I've seen reports on the North Shore of February 28th. So we're in that window. Now, if you are not from our area and you're watching this video, you can go to hummingbirds.net. They have migration maps on there, and you can look and find your area and see when people have reported in the past years when they have seen ruby-throated hummingbirds. Now, I need to tell you too, if you live in Southeast Louisiana, you may already have hummingbirds in your yard. And if you think I'm crazy, listen to this. There are 2 hummingbird seasons in Louisiana. Yes, we have a winter hummingbird season. So there's a couple things that are happening here. For one thing, juvenile ruby-throat hummingbirds from last year did not leave. And I know some people think that if you leave a feeder out, they won't know to migrate, and that is absolutely false. There's a couple other things that are happening, and one of the things is our winters are more temperate. They're able to find food sources. The other thing is their actual migration. When you think about it, these birds have to travel across the Gulf of Mexico. They do this in one day, typically, nonstop. So they have to have gotten enough food before they take the trip, and they need to get enough food when they reach land within the first couple of hours that they arrive. If this doesn't happen, they perish. The other thing is too, they can start migrating back as early as June, and they'll leave as late as early November. So you know what also corresponds with that? Hurricane season. A hurricane or very bad weather in the Gulf can just totally decimate a population of hummingbirds. So I think some of them are staying here, they're taking their chances. They actually can handle cold weather pretty well. The other thing that we're seeing is hummingbirds from the west, and they have a really diverse population over there. They're also choosing not to travel south, and they're going east. So we're starting to see some really different species of hummingbirds in our area. And just as a fact, not this past winter, but the winter before, I had a black-chinned hummingbird at my house. He stayed for quite a while. He stayed well past the time when spring migration started, so the winter season overlapped with the spring, and I had ruby-throat hummingbirds and I had a black-chinned hummingbird together. It was really amazing. So now is a perfect time to put up a feeder. Often I'll get customers that come in here and they're somewhat discouraged, and they tell me they never see hummingbirds anymore. So I ask them 2 questions, and if I get no to one or both of these, it's usually pretty telling as to why they've not attracted hummingbirds to their yard already. The first question I ask is, do you put up a hummingbird feeder? And if the answer is no, well, your possibility of seeing a hummingbird becomes a lot smaller. Also, I ask, do you provide flowers and plants that provide nectar for pollinators? If the answer is no, well, there's just not enough there to drive traffic into your yard. So I'm going to recommend that you do feeders and flowers. When you want to create a healthy habitat for hummingbirds, you need these 2. And I would suggest that you go to your local nursery and talk to the owners there, tell them what you're interested in doing, and they will tell you exactly what works in our area, rather than a big box store that may not know. Also, flowers are really like a diverse food source. We'll get into a little bit more about the sugar solution that we're going to make for our feeders, but it's not a sustainable food source for hummingbirds all the time. It is important to provide it, but flowers that are good nectar sources will keep your community thriving. They'll want to stay longer, and they may even nest in your yard. And I just want to add, if you live in a small space, an apartment, maybe you only have a balcony or a front door, research container plants. You can provide a lot of great nectar plants in a small space and put up one feeder. A hummingbird will travel over 1 mile to a reliable feeder source. So give it a try and you might be surprised. So our main reason for putting up hummingbird feeders are to bring hummingbirds closer for us to observe and enjoy. But there's a couple times that you definitely need to put a hummingbird feeder out, and one is storms. That's how I got into feeding hummingbirds. We had a hurricane a number of years ago. It knocked out all of our nectar sources for a time, and I wasn't currently feeding hummingbirds, but I had hummingbirds literally coming to my windows. They were looking at wind chimes, anything that could be a hummingbird feeder. And I had a really hard time finding available hummingbird feeders at our local stores. You know, these big box stores, they bring them in the spring, and they've sold out for fall. So that's when I committed to maintaining hummingbirds in my home and committed to selling hummingbird feeders year-round in my store. The other time is during fall migration. You're in southeast Louisiana, you're definitely going to notice an uptick in the population of hummingbirds, and as I mentioned before, it is so important that they really bulk up before they make that long journey over the Gulf of Mexico. So it's always a good idea to have 1 or 2 feeders up during that time. Placement is really important for your hummingbird feeder too. I would suggest that, again, this is for our enjoyment, put it somewhere where you're going to see it. I put mine outside my bedroom window because they're very active in the morning, and I think it's an amazing way to start the day. Another thing is, you're going to want to put it in a place that's not in direct sun, possibly a shaded area, and we'll go into how temperature affects your sugar solution, but this will buy you a little more time. The other thing is, you need to think like a hummingbird. Think about predators. So you may want to place it where there's a bushy shrub that they can go in and hide from birds of prey. If you have free-ranging cats, be aware of that. You'll find some surprises too. I actually had a snake climb up my brick wall at my house. Fortunately, he couldn't jump and he left. But start thinking like a hummingbird and what's out there that could actually harm you. And you'll end up finding a better location for your feeder. So cleaning and maintaining a feeder, it can seem like a chore, but if you go about it with the mindset that this is going to be a fun and exciting adventure, it doesn't have to be. I will tell you that as the temperature rises, you do need to change the solution and clean your feeder almost daily. It's February now, we're already getting into 80-degree temperatures, so I can guarantee we'll be in the 90s soon. And I would suggest you clean a feeder every 1 to 2 days. When we get into 95 and above, you definitely have to clean that feeder daily. And I know that sounds like a lot of work, but it's really important because bacteria will grow in your sugar solution and it'll kill a hummingbird. So here's my tip and what I do at my home. To make it fun, I've collected hummingbird feeders over the last few years, and it's fun putting out a really pretty feeder every day. So I will dump the old sugar solution, and I place all of these throughout the week in a tub, and then I only wash them once a week. So it's not really a chore. It doesn't take long. And the way I'm washing this is super hot water. I use like a mild dish soap, and I'll use, we have some tiny brushes that I'll show you in a bit, but baby bottle brushes too, work with bigger feeders, and they're not very expensive at all. So it's not that time consuming. You can certainly do this, and if you make it fun, it's not hard at all. Now, if you think it's just too much time, I would strongly caution you not to get into it. But if you also have a yard that's full of flowers, and you've got your habitat set up, I think it's perfectly fine to put up a feeder only when you're available, say on the weekend. You'll still get hummingbirds. It'll be fine. And you can feel assured that they're not going to get sick from your sugar solution. When feeding your hummingbird, you've probably seen hummingbird nectar in stores. And I'm going to caution you to make your own and not use what you see in the store. And there's a couple reasons for that. Many of them have red dye in it, and it's just red food coloring. It's fine for us. It's been tested for human consumption, but it's not been tested on a bird this small. And I follow a number of bird rehabbers. They're starting to see some real issues with this. So I'd caution you not to use that, and as I'm going to show you, it's easy enough to make your own. The other thing that we touched on was about temperature affecting your sugar solution. So my question too is, if this solution's been in a bottle and it's sat in a hot 18-wheeler traveling to this big box store, how fresh could it be? If it is fresh, does it have preservatives in it that could also harm this bird? So let's make our own. Super simple. Hummingbird fans pretty much agree on this recipe, and it's 1 part sugar to 4 parts water. Don't overthink this. It's just plain granulated white sugar. Never use honey, never use molasses, never use sugar in the raw. Plain, any brand, store brand, white granulated sugar. 1 part to 4 parts water, tap water, it's fine. It's what I use. My standard recipe is a 1/2 cup of sugar to 2 cups of tap water. I put it in a saucepan, I let it boil as I'm stirring. The main thing is you want to dissolve that sugar into the water. I let it cool, I'll fill my feeder up. I only put about a day's worth of nectar in there, and then I'll refrigerate the rest. It's good for 2 weeks. Let me share with you what we have here in the store and available online. We carry a line of hummingbird feeders called Parasol. They are really amazing blown glass, I consider them art glass, hummingbird feeders. This one is the droplet. I have a lot of these in red. They're really pretty. Some people have asked me, is this too small? And as we discussed, you really don't need to put that much nectar in there. You only need a day's worth of nectar, honestly, on hot days. So this is the perfect size. Plus, hummingbirds are a bit aggressive. They're not really going to share. So 1 quart is absolutely fine for this. Next up is the Pixie. It's one of my favorites. It's really got a cute, whimsical look. It's small scale as well. Another question I have been asked is, can a hummingbird really reach the inside of this feeder? And I'm happy to report hummingbirds' tongue are twice the length of their beak, so they have no problem accessing this. It is really darling, and I should mention each feeder comes with a little card, and it has that recipe that I mentioned for your own sugar solution right in there. So that comes with every Parasol feeder. Also from Parasol, this is the Habita. It's now discontinued from them. This is a solid ceramic feeder. I have one left in the rose color, in this light blue. It has a multi-port, 3 places on it. And this one is on sale for $24. This one, it's just stunning. This is the Bloom from Parasol. It has 3 ports as well. And I should say each of these little flowers can be removed and cleaned easily. You'll fill it from the top here. And I just want to remind you, again, if maintaining and cleaning a feeder is too much, I only put 1 feeder up. And my rule of thumb is when I see at least 3 hummingbirds fighting over a feeder, I go ahead and put up an additional feeder, and that is typically during fall migration. But 1 feeder should be sufficient to handle all your hummingbird needs. We also have this cute guy. He is from a different company, but he's so cute. He looks like an actual honey bear. He's glass with some plastic components. The bottom unswivels and it's really easy to clean. He's a larger feeder, so he would be great to take you all the way through maintaining winter hummingbirds if you're interested, but he is so cute, quickly becoming one of my favorites, and I think he's $30. And we have some accessory items. We have some replacement tubes for the parasols. They work with all of them. You know, accidents happen. I've had larger birds try to get into my feeders like orioles and even woodpeckers. So sometimes these can fall out, get lost, or broken. They're $6, so I would highly recommend that you go ahead and replace that. You don't want to use a feeder that doesn't have a proper port. It's, again, not good for hummingbirds. And I had mentioned earlier that you could use like baby bottle brushes to clean your feeders, but for the small little ports, and this works with so many different feeders, Parasol makes these little brushes, and these are $2.35 each. They're really handy. We also carry ant moats from Parasol. This is a really cool functional product, and it's super cute. They make theirs in the shape of a parasol. So what you're going to do is you're actually going to hang a hummingbird feeder at the bottom of this, and you're going to place water in here. I would suggest as you're checking your hummingbird feeders and changing them out daily, make sure that the water hasn't evaporated or that mosquitoes haven't started to breed. I have had birds as big as cardinals actually drink the water out of this. So it is a beneficial source to them, but it won't work if the water's not in there. The ants will go right to your feeder. And sometimes when you have a good placement of your feeder, like I hang mine off the eaves of my house, I don't have an ant problem. But when you do, this is such a great product. I've even used these with bird houses. Sometimes I get ants when I have nestlings in there, and they won't kill a baby bird, but they'll aggravate them and they'll fledge early. So these are $9.95, and they're available on our website. So quickly, I want to tell you what you won't find in our store. We have sold in the past hummingbird feeders that they're sort of suspended. They have a rubber cork and a plastic tube with a ball bearing at the tip. I had so many of them returned that they leaked. I stopped carrying them, but I did do some research. I tested them myself. They did leak, and what's happening with those types of feeders is they have to be fully filled with sugar solution to create a vacuum to not drip. And as I've told you before, you really don't need much sugar solution as you're going to be changing it quite frequently, so it's a waste. Now, if you still have those feeders, don't toss them. You could always use them when the weather's cool if you want to attract winter hummingbirds. They'll be good to fill up for a few days and leave out for like 4 to 5 days when the temperature is 40, 50 degrees. Also, we don't carry any kind of window feeders, and I'm talking about the feeders that have suction cups that will stick on the window. Those are just bad for birds. Birds miss all the time. They strike the window, they die instantly, or worse, they break their beak and they're no longer able to feed themselves, or they get a brain bleed and they die a slow death. So I'm gonna really caution you about purchasing any kind of feeder, and they make them for seed feeders for other birds too. I would really stay away from those kind of feeders. I hope this video has been really helpful in giving you some ideas how to create your own happy hummingbird habitat. And as a special offer for you guys to get you guys ready for the spring migration, we are offering 15% off a hummingbird feeder or accessory item of your choice now through March 1st, 2017. If you would, when you come in the store, mention it to us. Also, if you have any questions, we're happy to answer those, and you can put them in the comments as well. And you can use this special offer too on our website. Just use coupon code RubyThroat17. Again, thank you so much for watching. I would love to hear your comments below. Also, if some of these tips have worked for you and you've been getting some great hummingbirds and you've taken some pictures, share them below. If you have some tips too for our watchers, go ahead and share that as well. And again, thanks for watching.